Hi, right, I thought I'd do the 3-month check-in and so give you an update from the first 3 months of transitioning. So from what I've noticed, obviously I've been taking estrogen gel and I've been using the testosterone blockers. It's a finasteride that I've been using. From medication point of view, my estrogen has risen beautifully. That's great. So it's sort of in sort of fairly where we want it to be. Testosterone, curiously, has not fallen. In fact, it actually went up by 1 point. So that was a little bit of a surprise. But talking to Gender GP, we're going to look at trying a different solution, and we'll see how that goes. So I can give you an update on that in the next 3 months. So I've made a couple of notes on here which I'm just going to go through, so I'll be sort of looking at the phone as I go through with that. General state of mind and so on from that. To be honest with you, I've been pretty elated most of the time. So yeah, been feeling great. Haven't really noticed any mood swings for the first 3 months or anything like that, so all good as far as I'm concerned with that. A side effect that I have noticed, which is a very curious one, is I'm very much a migraine sufferer. Cluster headaches, otherwise known as suicide headaches. They're really, really painful. Now, curiously, that has lessened. So I've actually had less migraines since having my hormones altered. That's an interesting side effect. So I've spoken to my GP about that, and apparently, yes, hormones are in fact known as being one of the triggers for migraines. So ironically, me having higher estrogen, lower testosterone, for me personally, not necessarily going to be the same for everyone, but that actually helped. That's a bonus. I'll definitely take that one. Psoriasis as well, which is something I suffer with a little bit. That's lessened a little bit, not massively, but a tiniest bit. But again, that does vary, so it's difficult to say with that. Libido and so on, maybe lessened the tiniest amount, but to be honest with you, because we're self-employed, my wife and myself, it's been a crazy busy time. That also affects that, so it's again very difficult to say, but on the whole I would say things are pretty much the same as they always were. So I know the libido dropping and so on, something that's quite often is reported. Whether it's a state of mind, whether it's sort of how you play with each other as well, could have something to do with that. What I'd say is forget the fact it's a penis as possibly a bit of advice for folks. So we shall see how that goes, but no real change on there. First week and so on, really, little tiny bit of fats. Weren't sure whether the breasts were possibly sort of starting to have an effect, but I don't know how much of that is psychosomatic. What we did notice though is that pretty much the entire first 3 months I could shoot lasers from my nipples. Let's be honest. They have been, let's just say, they've been standing to attention for pretty much 3 months solid. That was a little bit of a surprise. And it got to the point where they have been a little tiny bit more sensitive, so occasionally I've knocked them and so on. I've now started wearing sort of padded bras and the likes when I'm wearing clothes. More a case of just protecting them than actually sort of supporting breasts or anything. So I've just got that little bit of padding there, so that, if I do knock them I don't notice it so much. But that was definitely a curious one. So at one point during the second week, which is a curiosity, my body smell changed for a very sort of short time, really, probably about a week or so. It was kind of like a bit of a musky smell, especially from the neck that we noticed. That went away. So whether that was as the hormones were starting to change, maybe there's a word for it. Yeah. The pheromones, that's the word, pheromones were maybe starting to alter a little bit, and maybe it was like an in-between stage, but that was definitely a curiosity. And interestingly as well, my hair, I've noticed it been sort of getting a little greasier earlier on, so sort of occasionally I've been needing to wash it a little tiny bit more often. But the hair, I do feel, has definitely started to soften, which is quite nice. I shall definitely take that as an advantage. And the other thing we've been sort of thinking is that maybe my face possibly, and hair and so on in general, has been starting to look a little bit more feminine. I have been having, I know in the previous video I was saying about I was going to go for electrolysis. Ended up speaking to the folks who do electrolysis and hair removal. They actually advised trying, because I had quite a bit of dark hair, to begin again with the laser. Now, my previous experience with laser hair removal was it thinned it a little bit, but sort of it didn't do a massive amount. I will say that whether equipment now, because that was a long time ago, whether equipment now is a lot better, which I suspect. Also, she had done a lot of work with trans folks, so she knew maybe a bit more what she was on about with settings and everything. But I will say that the laser hair removal this time round has worked amazingly well in comparison. We're not all there yet. I've purposely not shaven today, so you can see there's like little tiny bits here, little tiny bits there, a little bit on my neck and so on. But on the whole, bear in mind I've not had a shave. That's flipping amazing, I have to say. I'm really happy with that. So the plan is we'll get rid of all the dark hairs with the laser. Chest as well, I've been working on as well with that. I'm not going to show you my chest just yet, I'm not quite ready there. And then after then it's going to be electrolysis, but obviously with electrolysis you have to let your hair grow. So it might be a case of sort of do those in sort of batches. Usually they like to do that every week. It seems they have different ways depending on the studio as to how they want to handle it. A particular one that's nearby us, they like to do it every week, and it'll be a case of not shaving at all, so they've actually got a hair they can actually physically pull out. So we shall see from that. Hips, we think maybe there being sort of a bit more fat redistribution, so hips are being sort of widening a little bit, stomach's possibly been going down a little bit as well. So getting a bit more of a feminine shape overall. So yeah, that is really it. First 3 months, very happy with myself. It's wonderful just being able to go on this journey. So yeah, so there's, I don't know if you can see, not massively there, but it gives you a little bit of a hint anyway. So bit by bit, we're getting there. First 3 months is really sort of allowing all the chemicals to start doing their job. It's the next 3 months onwards then where we're going to hopefully start really seeing some major differences.